Joining us now, though, is Scott Taylor. He's my candidate for the Republican nomination for the 2nd District in Virginia to run for Congress against Elaine Luria. Scott Taylor is the only person who can defeat Luria, and he is one of several candidates in that, and he's with us now. Scott, sorry for the wait. Great to have you with us.
No worries. Good morning, John. It's great to be with you, and congratulations on your recent profile and in the paper about your essentially being elevated and close to the president. And I saw it. It was a good picture and good story.
Well, thank you, Scott. I really appreciate that, and thanks for reading it. Appreciate that a lot. So, Scott Taylor, let's talk about this peace plan the president. Scott, I'm going to the White House for the press conference Tuesday at noon. I don't know what it is, so until we see it, you really can't comment on it because you don't know what it is. I know that Jared Kushner and the president have been working on it hard, but we also know from reality, you and I both cover the Middle East pretty in depth. The Palestinians have not been at the table. They've not been part of it, and we do know that it does not involve a two-state solution for the Palestinians. About what you've heard of it, what do you think?
I think, like you said, it's a tough area, and there's a couple things to note here. And I haven't seen the plan. I don't know exactly what it is.
Right.
But you mentioned that the Palestinians are at the table, and here's the reality in Israel and the surrounding areas. It's actually not two parties that you have to negotiate with. It's three. And why I say that is this, because you have the West Bank, which of course is controlled by the PLO, and they're one. Then you have Israel. And then you actually have Hamas, who controls Gaza. And the Hamas and the Palestinian Authority, not the PLO, excuse me, the Palestinian Authority and the West Bank, they don't get along. The leaders of the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank haven't been in Gaza in more than a decade because they'd probably get killed by the Hamas leaders. So it's actually three parties that you have to negotiate with, and two of which are not even on the same page in the Palestinian areas. So I think people are always hopeful that there's going to be, but the reality is on the ground it's super complicated. And right now you mentioned that there isn't a two-state solution, and having been on the ground there numerous times, I understand why, because the West Bank and Gaza don't touch each other, right? Geographically speaking. And then right now you have this series, the A, B, and C sector, right? In Israel and the Palestinian areas. One of them is Palestinian governance, Palestinian security. One of them is Israeli security, Palestinian government. And then one of the sectors is, Israeli security, and Palestinian governance. So you have this, and the reason why you have this three-area sector is because it's not simply, okay, there's the Palestinian territory, there's the Israeli territory. It's not like that. You have Jewish village, Jewish Arab, and it's all around each other. So it's just super complicated geographically speaking, and then, of course, governance-wise, because you have three different governments, Israeli, Hamas, and then the Palestinian Authority.
That's what makes it complicated, Scott Taylor, and you nailed it, because the Palestinians, it's not represented by a single group, right? It's a hodgepodge of different people, and you've got Hamas, it's been in there, it's like 88. You've got a spokesperson, you got the PLO, you've got a number of things to negotiate with. I think what the president is hoping is he outlines the plan, the Palestinians engage in a conversation, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to bring it to the table. Unfortunately, and I've been over there. I've met Rami Hamdallah, who is the vice president of the Palestinian Authority. There seems like, I believe that there are legitimate concerns by the Palestinians that I think the Israelis want to address. However, the leadership there actually gets in the way. I mean, they really do what's best for themselves to keep themselves in power, surprise, but not really for the Palestinian people. And so, anyways, I'm hopeful, of course. And this president has done a great job in the Middle East, John. Like you said, you cover it, and he doesn't get a lot of credit for that
right.
in the news here. But the reality is, just like with moving the embassy, I was fortunate enough to be one of the Congress folks that were one of the 10 of us who were there at the embassy opening in Jerusalem. And three of our last presidents have said, "Hey, look, it is the policy of the United States to have the capital in Israel and Jerusalem. That's where the embassy will be." None of them had the cojones, if you will, to actually do it, and he did. Mm-hmm. And of course, the people who were against it were like, "No, that's going to cause widespread conflict." And he said, "No, it's not." And he moved it, and you see exactly what happened.
Right.
Nothing's happened. There was a little bit of protest that day, a couple days afterwards. Unfortunately, people got hurt, but then it stopped. And so I think that this president's actually done a good job because he understands in the Middle East that people respect or fear strength, a position of strength. And if you don't have strength, you don't get respect or fear in the Middle East.
And you don't get anything done.
And you don't get anything done. You
right.
have to negotiate from a position of strength. You have to be willing to make bold moves, and this president has.
You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth Across America. Great to have you with us. We're chatting with Scott Taylor. Scott is a candidate for the Republican nomination for the 2nd District to run against Elaine Luria. This nomination will be decided in a June primary. Scott, do you have the exact date?
I don't. Off the top of my head, I think it's the first Tuesday in June.
First Tuesday in June, whatever that is. I probably should get that and write that down. That'll be
Me
decided
too.
in a primary. I know Scott Taylor running in that. We have emphatically endorsed the Taylor for Congress campaign. We think is the only candidate that has the opportunity to defeat Elaine Luria in the fall to give the president's re-election in 2020 an opportunity to win the House back. There's no math to win the House back without winning the seat back, and I think Taylor's the guy to do that. Scott, we chatted here about what's happening in the Middle East a little bit. Let's go to John Bolton releasing transcripts from a book to the New York Times saying that in a conversation with the president that the president did indeed withhold aid to the Ukraine if they didn't investigate Joe Biden. The president in 3 tweets today at 1 a.m. disputing that, saying it was not true. John Bolton now might be called on to testify if 4 Republicans choose to do that. What the hell is going on now?
I don't know. I mean, it's the same. It seems like the same playbook. And I know John. I've known him for years. And, I haven't seen it actually come out. Of course, the New York Times is reporting that that's the case. I have a problem with anybody that's worked in the administration that's sort of come out and attacked the administration. Like it's an honor and a privilege to serve. And you, if you don't agree with decisions that are made, okay, then you leave, but to try to, I haven't seen John come out and say it yet, but every indication is that obviously the New York Times is reporting it. I just find I have a problem with that. I have a problem, they clearly clashed. John's style obviously is a little bit different. And I know, I understand where the president is in terms of conflict and wanting peace and wanting to stop endless wars. And I know where John is, right? And so clearly they didn't agree on certain things. They didn't agree with things on Venezuela. I will tell you that the handling of Venezuela, and this is, I have to say, again, I know John, I like John, but Venezuela was handled very poorly because of their tweets and saying, okay, Guaido is going to be the guy who takes out Maduro and he's the new leader. And the reality was the conditions on the ground did not indicate that. They never did. And and he put, quite frankly, positioned the United States to set us up for sort of to look weak and Russia looked strong when they sent 20 troops in there because the conditions on the ground were going to support Maduro. And so I don't think he did very well, quite frankly, in that spot. And I have a problem now with him coming out, if this is in fact true, with attacking the administration because he wasn't happy there and he didn't get along with folks and he ultimately had to leave. Like I said, it's a privilege to serve and to be asked to serve by any president in the administration to serve the country. And if you get relieved for whatever reason, I just think it's wrong to turn around and try to bash the thing. And obviously the timing on this specific incident is ridiculous, right? I mean, if the Democrats could have subpoenaed John Bolton in the House, they did not. And then, of course, you're seeing this come out. It's like the same thing with Blasey Ford, right? When Kavanaugh was confirmed. It's a book.
Right. The timing of the book coming out 2 days before they're going to vote on the testimony is very curious. But you go back to what you said, Scott. The guy's been a disaster. I mean, he completely screwed up the Venezuela situation. I mean, he was calling on the president and the vice president to invade Venezuela, to change the regime. I mean, he's been doing the same stuff, Scott, for 50 years. This is what he does. And so it was a terrible hire by the president. Now he's got to pay the piper. He's got a book deal coming out. The whole thing is just, it's just weaselly. But, you know, he doesn't agree with the president's policies. He never has. He should never been hired. The president would have been better off if he named Scott Taylor the national security director. He'd be a lot better off today than he was under John Bolton. Scott, let's get to your campaign.
Sure.
Let's get to your campaign. What is going on with your campaign? Where are we?
It's fantastic. We've had almost 2,000 people sign up to be volunteers, which is amazing. I think we're going to have the best grassroots campaign that you've ever seen in Virginia, in a congressional campaign. We've had, I think we've had 4 or 5 like just pop-up events. You know, we had 2 days notice for an event the other day. We had over 100 people there. And we've had literally hundreds of people who have come out, signed up, contributed. Things are fantastic. We're just named a young gun up here in by Kevin McCarthy's organization, of course, because they know that we're the only candidate that can beat Elaine Loria. Now that we're in, the NRCC has said this is the top race in the region, so they're going to deploy resources. We've been talking with the Trump campaign as well, and so things are fantastic. We feel very positive. There is certainly a backlash within the district against Elaine Loria, not only for her empty impeachment vote, but for also being present in the district and actually helping people out and serving constituents, which is something that we really prided ourselves. We got a lot of stuff done. We helped a lot of people, and that's pretty clear. I mean, a lot of people who are coming out to these events are giving me stories about how we, quite frankly, makes me feel great that our team was so responsive and they've got stuff done. So we work our butts off to get the district back.
Well, look, you have to win this primary and be the nominee. The other candidates that are in there, they're all nice people. None of them can win. You're the only candidate that can take a very good race to Elaine Loria, and she's going to have to be accountable for her impeachment vote, Scott, and other votes that she's made, and you're the only person that's got the support and the wherewithal to be able to run the type of a campaign in order to take that seat back. And I look forward to the debate. I look forward to you being the nominee, and I'm going to work hard, Scott Taylor, do everything I can to ensure that you are the nominee, and then you go back to Congress and win this election November 3rd, 2020, because we can reelect President Trump, but two things have to happen. We've got to get a Republican Congress for him to finish his agenda and get things done. And secondly, we have to start hiring good people in the administration. I don't say good people that support his agenda. I mean, I was beside myself when they hired John Bolton. I said nothing good was going to come of it. And Rex Tillerson, Gary Cohn, McMaster, you keep bringing people in that don't believe in your agenda. It's just not going to turn out well. And hopefully when you're there in Congress, you guys can have a majority again and go forward with that. But we need to get you on a regular basis, Scott, talk about the issues, and I look forward to seeing you this week.
Likewise, John. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you as always, and, of course, your listeners. Hope you guys have a fantastic day.
Now, Scott, people want to get more info. Where do they go?
Scott Taylor 2020, ScottTaylor2020.com, or text Taylor to 41411. Text Taylor to 41411. We're going to build the biggest grassroots army, take this district back, win the House back, and get the president elected. Text
Taylor 41411 and get involved in his campaign to take the House back in the 2nd District. Scott, thanks for being with us. I really appreciate it. Thank you. All right, Scott Taylor. Thank you, Scott. Outstanding. Scott Taylor running in the 2nd District. You can also go to his website and get more information there